Whoa, whoa, whoa. Wow.
Where do you have me framed up, or how do you have me framed up?
Hang on, I gotta think about what I want to say here.
So are people introducing themselves, or?
No, nobody's really introduced themselves.
Cool.
Go baby, go baby, go baby, go!
I married a crazy, crazy man.
The best movies and TV shows show their characters change over time.
Every new set of clothes.
Pretty good. Ready to get this styling going down.
Change is obvious here.
Being able to have that motion, you were able to see more, and it really made what would normally be a very static area kind of come to life.
It's chaotic. You kind of have to organize your thoughts and focus on what the elements you're gonna get.
This scene made Mitchell Cunningham slow down.
We were here for a conference and I saw all the traffic backed up and the cops and all that.
I had a blast.
Wait, can you show me exactly what they told you to do?
There's so many!
Somebody said it was happening in Issaquah. I was like, oh my God, we have got to do this story. Like,
it's crazy.
Oh yeah, I mean there's that. That's when they first got out, yeah.
Who doesn't love a cold case story, especially when it involves Ted Bundy?
Like other missing person cases, this made worldwide news.
They never found anything.
Hi, I'm Jake Wittenberg from King 5 Mornings. Over the next hour, our world-class photojournalists will take you into their world, give you an insight into how they work and what they do to create the amazing work you see here on King 5 every day. From homeless haircuts to a story about a man willing to end his own life, to the somber anniversary of one of the most tragic crimes here in the Northwest. To them, every detail matters. So sit back and relax, enjoy some of the best work you'll see in the Northwest and beyond from the photojournalists at King 5.
So this piece you're about to watch is one that I shot early this year, and it's about a great program from Seattle's Union Gospel Mission, the recovery program that helps people coming out of addiction and homelessness. And what I love about this piece is that the best movies and TV shows show their characters change over time. They change, they adapt, they face new obstacles, but in television news, sometimes it's really hard to see the change happen right in front of you. But that's exactly what happens in this piece.
Change
big ol' smile
can be hard to see.
Perfect. And look outside for me.
Harder still to recognize.
Perfect.
But Shadow Barons has changed.
Addiction's been in my blood.
Changed a lot, actually.
Life happens whether or not we show up clean.
He's clean and sober.
You know, and I've experienced that a lot lately.
And about to graduate from Union Gospel Mission's recovery program. One of 50 homeless men that got makeovers to celebrate the milestone.
Really to do this outward transformation that's reflective of the amazing change that's been happening in their life.
If I can help a little bit with the looking good part, I think the feeling good part will come right after.
With every haircut.
Yes, one clip at a time.
Every new set of clothes.
Pretty good. Ready to get this styling going down.
Change is obvious here.
It's amazing how clothes can transform just how you look, but not only how you feel.
We're looking at the photo of me from 2016.
It's a heck of a before and after, man.
Yeah.
Change Mike Cook
way different.
Desperately needed.
I've been an addict and homeless pretty much all of my life. I was killed and had to be resuscitated twice.
He's off the streets and moving forward, and he needed his look to match his new outlook.
And look outside one more time.
It's awesome what's been going on inside of me, and now it's happening outside too. The sky's the limit.
All because he realized that he could change, and that is a good feeling.
It is. Best feeling in the world, being free.
I didn't know that my hair and beard could look this good.
Just like Shadow.
Am I supposed to tuck this in?
Because this after photo is the new him, a person on the right side of change.
And for someone that's coming out of addiction, for someone that is really used to the guilt and shame.
Big ol' goofy grin.
Just learning to love myself, take care of myself, to look good and have fun doing it. That's definitely where we go from here.
Michael Crow, King 5 News.
A lot of people were coming into the afternoon meeting like, hey, have you seen this goat video? Have you seen this goat video? Have you, like everybody, one after one. What honestly happened to me was I saw this video on my way into work and I didn't even realize that it was in Washington. You just don't see hundreds of goats running through a suburban neighborhood every day. That's just for one. And when I got in and everybody's buzzing in the newsroom, somebody said it was happening in Issaquah, I was like, oh my God, we have got to do this story. Like, this is it. Like, we're here. We have to own this. This is our backyard. And that went from there.
This is the first one that happened this year. I mean, they happen occasionally.
Half hour before this happened, I was on my walk and I noticed the goats were kind of ready to leave the area that they were in.
If there's an opportunity, they usually take advantage of it.
So I got home from my walk, put on the debates, and then I glanced down at Facebook, and one of the neighbors had posted on our next door site, "The goats are out. Who do we call?"
Have you counted them yet?
Absolutely not,
Why not?
because it's way too many.
My sister comes inside and she's like, guys, get outside. There's a stampede of like 200 goats just running down our street.
I think it's crazy.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's that. That's when they first got out. Yeah.
All of them are just going to one yard.
I was very happy that I came home at the right time. I really did want to see that.
How much money did they get paid?
I don't know. Think the goats get paid?
In the staring contest.
Oh, there he goes.
Yes, I won.
I saw it.
I'm really good at that game.
There's so many. What the hell?
We did get them back eventually. Took a while, but we did it. It was a good like community effort though, so I'm glad to see that our community would respond in the right way.
So let me tell you about one of my favorite people I've ever met on this job. His name's Kyle, and I met him during a story where he was in a situation giving back to a food drive where just a year ago he had attended because he was in need of food. He was homeless just a year before, and he was able to completely turn his life around. And he had just such a great attitude and outlook on life. It was infectious just being around him. I just wanted to spend the entire day hanging out with him. And the lesson that I learned from him is that change is not only possible, but we all are capable of changing whatever situation we're in. And he was just someone who will always stick with me.
Every Saturday morning, those who need it line up in the parking lot of Linwood's Trinity Lutheran Church for a hot meal.
All volunteer. It's a grassroots type of project.
On today's menu, pizza.
It looks like everyone's enjoying the food, so I'm happy.
All thanks to this man.
How you feeling? I'm feeling great. Put a smile on my face for the day.
Kyle Wilson Wade brought the pizza today.
It's actually like nostalgic being here.
For a reason.
So me and my family used to come here and get lunch when we were homeless, sleeping in our cars.
2 years ago, he lost his job, and he and his wife were a part of this crowd receiving food in this parking lot.
We were going to like Albertsons and buying cold food with like EBT and going to gas stations and warming it up in the microwave. That was our dinner, and like sleeping in the car. And I'm a smart guy. I've always been a smart guy, but I was treated like I was like not even human, like a dog.
He's here with a message to show that a little kindness can go a long way.
There might be 10 other business owners out here we just don't know, and they might just be in a rough spot right now. You don't know that.
And that kindness mixed with optimism can turn a life around.
How's it going? Man, you're looking fresh today. You got the jacket on? Everything you see in here came from cleaning windows from my own money.
Cakes and Coffee is connected to the Jiffy Lube in Mill Creek off Bothell Everett Highway.
Caramel and white chocolate, 16 ounce.
This guy is on it, man.
And it's the business that Kyle was able to buy, open, and run, all because of the kindness he got along the way.
I thought my life was pretty much over. I just had to keep pushing every day. I actually didn't even waking up in the morning, but I had to keep pushing.
Pushing for himself.
It's my daughter. She comes in here sometimes.
And his family.
And she's so young and precious and beautiful. I would hate for her to have to break her back trying to find her way in the world. So I want to make sure she's set up in the world so she can pass it on to her children and then their children.
And as he continues to build his business, his new life, he has a message for those in the same position that he was in not too long ago.
It's never over. As long as you're still waking up, as long as you're still breathing, things can change. Nothing stays the same forever. You can always grow and be better.
In Mill Creek.
I'll see you later. Bye.
Vanessa Mishanya, King 5 News.
That was Mike. He's one of my regular customers. Super great guy.
So one of our senior producers pitched this story about Ted Bundy, and it was a cold case story. Who doesn't love a cold case story, especially if it involves Ted Bundy? This past year, we were able to invest in several different types of gear. We're trying to incorporate more of a documentary style look to some of our special projects. We invested in some new drones, some new DSLR type cameras, some new editing software. So I figured, hey, what better way to just roll them all out for this type of story? And it really added to the quality of the story.
Bundy has now confessed to 20 killings.
In only 8 years, Anne-Marie Burr managed to capture the love and admiration of family, friends, even strangers she never met.
It was unexplainable, an 8-year-old girl vanishing without a trace.
Like other missing person cases, this made worldwide news.
They never found anything, not a thing, not a trail, not a speck of anything.
Anne-Marie Burr disappeared from her Tacoma, Washington home on Thursday, August 31st, 1961.
Anne's mother, Beverly Burr, went door to door around the neighborhood looking for her daughter, but no one had seen her. It very quickly became a big investigation.
One of the complications for the search was that their home was very close to the University of Puget Sound campus, and there were 7 buildings under construction that day.
Rebecca Morris is a true crime author who has been investigating the Anne-Marie Burr and Ted Bundy link for years.
Don Burr, Anne's father, went back to the house and told the police, "You've got to go up there and look at those construction sites because there are all these ditches." And in fact, he and his brother had seen a teenager standing at one of the ditches and kind of kicking the dirt in with his feet. They waited a few days, and by the time the police went to the campus, everything was paved over.
Could Anne-Marie Burr be Ted Bundy's first victim? Police say evidence collected at Anne's house here so many years ago is limited because of methods investigators used back then. But King 5 News has learned that recently police have sent some of that evidence to the lab to be tested, hoping new technology can finally help solve this case.
He always lied. I mean, always.
Sandy Holt grew up with Anne and Ted in Tacoma. They often played in the same neighborhood. Holt remembers Bundy as a strange and evil child.
Horrible. There's no other way to explain him. He didn't fit in anywhere.
25 years and at least 30 victims later, Bundy opened the door to the possibility that he killed Anne.
In 1986, Ted had told this story about this hypothetical first crime of his, of murdering a child.
Especially at first. Morris says Bundy told this story to a serial killer researcher during a prison interview.
He told the story about this early crime of taking a child out of her house, taking her to the orchard next door, and molesting her, and then leaving her in a ditch.
I just knew that he was the one that got rid of her somewhere.
Ted Bundy was executed at 4:16 Seattle time.
Sadly, the truth may have gone to the grave with Bundy when he was executed in 1989.
He said, "Your first crime is very special, and you don't talk about it."
For now, closure will have to wait even longer.
We had an area on the coast called the Ghost Forest that really helped explain how earthquakes work here in Washington State. The problem is the Ghost Forest is next to a river and behind private property and behind forests, so it was very difficult to get pictures of. When you see it, it's really amazing, but it was how to get those pictures to bring that amazing footage to the viewer. So what we did is we used a drone, and we used the drone by launching off of a boat. Once we launched off the boat, we had this whole area available to us. You were able to see more, and it really made what would normally be a very static area kind of come to life. And it really helped us tell the story of that ghost forest.
If silence could speak. In this coastal forest in Washington State, there is a story to tell. And this place has a name, the Ghost Forest. And the piece here today masks the violence which struck here at 9 p.m. on January 26th of the year 1700. As the geological forces which created a great earthquake and tsunami in Japan just 8 years ago reminds us that even today, that threat remains to strike us on the west coast of the U.S. again. Jeff Oxos takes us up the Copalis River, not far from where it empties into the Pacific Ocean, where the roots of those trees extend, on land that is being pushed higher by tectonic force. So what killed the ghost forest? It's very simple, a loss of elevation. So for hundreds of years, these trees were growing in largely a freshwater environment, but they weren't very high above sea level. So in the earthquake, the west coast of Washington state dropped more than 6 feet. This became a salt marsh, and the trees died. From the Copalis River on Washington's west coast to Discovery Bay on the state's north coast, where geography captures wave energy. Geologists can track the history of great earthquakes and tsunamis. Chopping away at a mud bank, Carrie Garrison-Laney exposes the signatures from the past.
This is an event. This is an unusual event.
She's a geologist with Washington Sea Grant, working with the University of Washington.
And there's another sand layer comparable in size to the one above it.
What is gray is what stands out.
Here, there's definitely organic material, but there's also a lot of mud and silt.
Sand pushed in by large waves, covered up by more mud.
This one has a radiocarbon date of about 600 years old. And this one has a radiocarbon date that suggests it's from 1700.
And it's all generated from a 600-mile-long fault running off the Pacific coast, from Cape Mendocino, California, past Oregon, Washington, and British Columbia, Canada. The fault runs along a boundary of crustal plates making up the ocean floor that are, for now, locked to the western edge of the North American plate. Those plates pushing against each other, driving to the northeast and up. And when they release, all hell breaks loose. The next one likely to rank as one of the world's biggest earthquakes, a magnitude 9+. Our earthquake history runs deep, and as Garrison-Laney goes back further in time taking core samples, you can see the pattern continue.
Marsh, big disturbance event. Normal marsh, disturbance event. Normal marsh, another disturbance event. There's actually 9 or 10 layers.
It's a record dating back nearly 2,000 years. It all promises there will be more violence to disrupt the peace, more ghost forest. A warning for all of us to prepare.
So Chris Egan approached me about this story about a young Olympic athlete. Her name was Nevin Harrison. And we decided to go to Gig Harbor to see her canoe for the day. I really like showing off athletes, especially young athletes, from the communities where they live. They grew up here, they were taught here, they were coached here. So for someone like Nevin, you were just able to see her strength and her attitude and how that grew specifically in this place. One of my favorite shots of the piece is this shot of her canoeing right in front of Mount Rainier. And it really, I think, encompasses the pride that she has for her community, for this space. So it was a real honor to just showcase her abilities within this area.
Over the past few years, 17-year-old Nevin Harrison has quickly become one of the best paddlers in the world. She spends 6 days a week on the water, training with the Gig Harbor Canoe and Kayak team.
A lot of people wonder what it takes to be successful in the sport. She has good balance,
She has that racing mentality, but she also is physically very strong and she works hard to get there. So, she can do, 20 pull-ups and she can deadlift 300 pounds. And that's just not something that a lot of 17-year-olds can do.
Nevin grew up playing soccer and softball and started dreaming big early.
She tells the story of sitting in front of the television watching the Summer Olympics when she was 6 and turning to me and saying, "Mom, that's what I want to do."
As a little kid, I didn't want to be a singer or a dancer or a teacher, whatever. I wanted to be an Olympian.
As a freshman at Roosevelt, Nevin thought her path to the Olympics would be on the track. She was one of Seattle's top sprinters, but suffered a setback.
I was doing a race and my hip went out, and it was never the same. I tried so much. I did physical therapy. I did everything I could to stay in track, but it wasn't working for my body, and I knew I needed to kind of figure out another thing.
That would be canoe. She first learned about paddling at a camp on Green Lake.
I think the coaches saw something in her that she might likely be able to do this, and so nurtured her.
It was frustrating for the first year or so, because you get in, you fall out, get in, fall out. There's no, you can't get in and go. But, I knew what I wanted to work towards.
In 2016, she won her first national championship. In 2019, she won gold at the Pan Am Games. And this past August, Nevin qualified to compete at the World Championships in Hungary.
The goal in going to Hungary and obviously supporting her was to finish in the top 6. That was what we hoped might happen. We're talking about the 35 fastest female sprint canoeists in the world.
The World Championships for me was kind of a huge surprise.
We are underway in the women's C1 200-meter final.
Watching her start was just fantastic. She got out of the gate really fast.
Has she got the experience, though, and the endurance to hold on?
Did we dare think she could actually pull this out?
This woman is one to look out for.
Oh my gosh, never in a million years did I think I was going to come in first.
Gold medal for Nevin Harrison of the United States of America.
My mind was almost blank, but so full at the same time, because it was like, what do you do when your biggest dream comes true?
It was one of the glorious moments of a person's lifetime to watch your daughter do this and be so fiercely committed to winning that she was not going to let anyone catch her. And it was unspeakably wonderful.
It was also historic. In front of 20,000 fans, Nevin became the first American to win a medal in a sprint canoe event at the World Championships.
They couldn't find the American flag to put on the pole because they're like, we've never used this before. They're like, we can't find it. So it took them a while to figure that one out because it was so new.
But now Nevin and the U.S. are on the map and working even harder to strike gold again on the world's biggest sports stage, the Olympics. In Gig Harbor, I'm Chris Egan, King 5 Sports.
My name's Tom Tedford. I'm the Olympia Bureau photographer. On this story, I worked with Chris Egan and Ryan Beard. It's a story about cross country, not a sport that garners a lot of attention. But this Emerald Ridge team is doing something a little extra special that has gotten a lot of attention and made them quite successful.
We're going to do an easy run. Please keep it in Jag Valley, no hills. Everybody say no hills on 3. 1, 2, 3. No hills. Thank you very much.
Emerald Ridge's Jay Bates has been coaching cross country for 5 years.
3, 2, 1, go. Head that way, go. There's no timeouts in cross country. You can't get to the point of saying, oh, I need to rest for a second. No, you got to push through that and persevere. Woo! What I love about cross country is you're never going to get a parent asking for more playing time.
Under Bates' leadership, the Emerald Ridge team has become a legit state contender over the past few years.
He's really energetic, always lifts us up as a coach. He always pushes us. He always brings out the best in us.
There's a high amount of stress before a race. The gun's ready to go off, and they're standing on the line, and you don't know what's going to happen. And you get kids that are not comfortable with that, and anxiety kind of can spin out of control. What we got to do is we got to figure out how to remind kids this is fun.
In the world of running, it's usually how you finish a race that matters the most. But that's not the case here at Emerald Ridge.
We get off the bus, and the first thing we do is we set up our dance. Give me room, back up, line up.
Coach Bates has started up a pre-race ritual that not only draws attention from others,
They got their cell phones out recording us.
but he believes it puts his runners in a physical and mental state to go run their best.
We're getting that blood flow through the legs, and it doesn't feel like you're warming up and getting ready for a race. And so it reduces that stress for kids.
I think it's awesome because it brings the team together.
I feel like that's something that makes our team unique.
No, they're not getting ready for a school dance. This is serious stuff.
We all just got the music playing out of me, and we all just went out and started dancing to Footloose, and now it's a thing.
Doing a little air guitar, 1980s air guitar.
Before each and every race, the Jags loosen up with a line dance to Footloose. And yes, that's Coach Kevin Bacon Bates leading the charge.
I'd practice my moves. I was like Napoleon Dynamite. We start when Kenny Loggins starts singing. I'm gifted, really, when it comes to dancing. I have the dance blood in me. Shimmy, 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 squawk, squawk, kick, 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 kick. Front tap, back tap, front side, back side, kick, kick, tick, turn. 1, 2, 3. It's something you feel in your heart and your soul, and whether you're good or not, you own it.
And who knows, this could be a good way to end or start every newscast. At Emerald Ridge High School, I'm Chris Egan, King 5 Sports.
Some of the stories we cover can be difficult to talk about. That's why it's always amazing how the people we meet are willing to open up to us and tell their stories, even with cameras rolling. It's a pleasure to see them work.
We'll meet again, don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day.
What if you knew the number of days you had left in your life?
I do know how many days left.
I mean the exact number.
I only have 19 days.
Not approximate.
Yep, 7 days.
Exact.
5 more days.
Let's say you knew.
This is it. Today, it's my final day on the planet.
Like Bob Fuller knew your death date.
On May 10th, this year, 2019, at 3 p.m. in the afternoon, I will die.
So if you knew, how would you spend those remaining months, weeks, days, hours?
In a couple hours, I'm going to be dead tired. And no pun there, really. I will be dead tired. I love you, Jim. Yeah.
We were with Bob in his last hours.
I love your cameraman, too.
Joseph Huerta and I.
Thank you all for being here.
We were with him in his final minutes of life. None of us could have predicted what would happen next. This.
I'm still here.
Bob being Bob. Even till the end. Bob Fuller reminding us, all of us in this room on that day, about those precious moments.
I gotta say, you're looking great. You're sounding great.
I'm very photogenic.
We got to share with him.
I'm ready, Mr. DeMille. Oh!
There were so many. So many. Where do we begin? How about March 3rd, our first day with him?
Are you filming me?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We had 68 days left with Bob Fuller.
Get me to the church on time.
He was like sunshine.
Oh, happy day.
Sunshine on a cloudy day.
Woo! Yeah.
If you knew Bob and you spent time with him in those last months, you knew he was in a lot of pain. It was the tongue cancer.
God damn it.
By the time he recorded this
hurt.
Bob had already made up his mind.
Sorry.
To end his life, end his pain. Bob Fuller knew it was his right, under Washington State's Death with Dignity law, to request lethal doses of medication. Terminally ill patients with less than 6 months to live have that right.
And look how skinny I am.
Bob had less than 6 months to live.
It's your choice.
It's Bob's choice.
So underneath your sweater?
It was also his choice to have us tell his story. I'd known Bob 10 years. Joseph Huerta knew him just 68 days, the number of days we were with him as we chronicled his last days of life.
You'll see as you walk with me here these next 2.5 months that I'm surrounded by love.
The things he did in his life.
Yeah.
He was an Air Force veteran, retired nurse, and over the years, he sponsored more than 100 people in Alcoholics Anonymous. Bob had been sober 35 years.
He was my sponsor, so that meant that he was,
taking me through the steps in AA and becoming like a mentor.
The things Bob would say.
I don't know if you remember me. We used to sing in the choir.
Always full of surprises.
I flirted with you a little bit.
Huh?
I flirted with you.
You flirt with everybody.
May place the ring.
Like the time he told us his plan to marry his caregiver and roommate, Reese.
So we get married right here in the building. There's a lady here in the building who performs these things. So I'll just do that in the morning. Then we'll go down and have a banquet. Then I'll come upstairs and kill myself. How was the honeymoon, Bob? It was a killer. Sorry, I'm not being a proper 75-year-old man.
The things he taught us.
He is teaching us how to live. He's teaching us how to die. And he's doing it all together. It's beautiful.
How deeply he touched others.
If I had a fairy wand and could heal them all, I would do that, and then we wouldn't have to worry about May 10th. But I don't have a fairy wand.
Bob Fuller knew the number of days he had left to live. He knew when he would die and how. And ultimately how he wanted us to cover this moment of his life.
So how would you like us to cover you on May 10th?
On May 10th, I'd like you to be here filming the entire thing here in my bedroom as I'm giving my my medication, my formula, my bowl. And just as I'm about to have my last supper, my last meal, I'd like the cameras to pan from me to some angels that I have posted, my pictures of angels around me, and then maybe move the camera out the window here. How's that sound?
How's it sound to you?
Sounds nice.
We'll meet again, don't know where, don't know when.
John Sharifi.
But I know we'll meet again some sunny day.
King 5 News. Today, Pierce County's second largest city is thriving, but it will forever be scarred by what happened 10 years ago. On a Sunday morning, a convicted felon walked through the doors of this coffee shop and shot 4 officers to death. Chief Mike Zarro was assistant chief at the time and has been back here every anniversary.
How did you bring yourself to do it?
Well, the first time it was more about having a job to do.
He agreed to sit down with us in the coffee shop. It's since been renamed Blue Steel, and its walls pay tribute to the officers killed that day.
Absolutely no provocation. It was akin to somebody walking in and setting off a bomb.
On that day, we lost Sergeant Mark Renninger, Officer Greg Richards, Officer Tina Griswold, and Officer Ronald Owens. The day itself was bad enough. The weeks and months that followed were a complete fog.
You know, there was no roadmap to it. We didn't know, we couldn't say, okay, we just had 4 officers killed. Here's our next steps. Here's A, B, C, and D, because nobody'd gone through that before.
I knew them well. I mean, I've worked with them since the day that they started.
Lieutenant Jeff Allwine was the first Lakewood officer on the scene. He's never talked about it publicly until now, and sat with me for the first time at the Fallen Officer Memorial in front of the department.
I felt like it wasn't real. It was not until after I walked out and realized that I needed to make some phone calls to the chief and the assistant chief, and I knew that I needed to activate things and get people moving, because we were in a horrific, tragic event that was going to require a ton of support.
The first call, that was to your wife.
Yes.
Krista, his rock of 25 years, in good times and in bad. Why? How? There was anger, there was fear, and that wasn't unreasonable given an act that defied reason, an act that put so much strain on so many families. He credits her resilience for keeping him on track, helping him find a path to healing.
It is okay to admit that you're hurting, and it is okay to seek professional help.
And he did, on the first anniversary of the shooting. Instead of gathering with other officers to remember the fallen four, he gathered the courage to ask for help.
I don't think I recognized how difficult it was. I feel like I just went back to work. Like that was the best thing that I could do, was just get back to work. I went through a period of time where I questioned whether or not I wanted to keep doing this job.
But counseling was now part of the job. Routine maintenance, as he calls it, to keep his mind in check. Time has also helped, but it may never heal all the wounds here.
I don't know that I have truly gotten over it. But every day, every year that goes by, it gets a little easier. It is not in the forefront of my brain.
There's some people that, you just haven't healed yet or haven't completely come to terms with it. There's some people that is still very much at the forefront of their motivation even to come to work.
For those involved in this tragedy, life will never be the same. For them, it's about finding peace.
I used to not be able to drive by the coffee shop at all. I would always avoid going that direction. I can drive by it now. I don't stop. No, I've never been back. I don't need to.
So reporter Chris Daniels and I were assigned to cover the first Democratic debate down in Miami, Florida. And we were there for a few days, and we quickly realized and experienced what it's like being in the spin room. And this is a room where supporters of the candidates go to kind of hype up their candidate and put them in the best light. So they essentially try to spin the narrative to help their candidate. And the focus, after a couple days, we realized it's kind of a controlled chaos in the spin room. And we wanted to kind of do a big picture story of where we shoot all the elements in the spin room and kind of give the viewers a feel and experience what it's like being there.
Want to run for president?
The main Facebook page, so let me reset.
You'll have to fight for votes.
This president has made a mistake.
And this, it's the calm before the spin storm. Welcome to the spin room.
We're not up for a couple minutes.
A cacophony of commentators. A melting pot of media.
Please clear.
All battling for position.
I don't want us to lose.
As candidates try to spin their own.
I know my survival's guaranteed, and that's how we accelerate.
We got our plan for this, we got our plan for that. We also have to talk about our vision.
It's the only way you can see anything.
Senator Warren, what's best? Impeach Trump or beat him?
You got to get up.
Which, by the way, I should have said tonight. I didn't. I voted against that agreement. It was at 2 o'clock in the morning on a New Year's Eve.
Jay, how you doing?
Washington Governor Jay Inslee survived. How do you think it went tonight?
Well, I was very pleased.
But based on this push poll,
it is crazy. It's insane. Everybody's trying to get to all the candidates.
Got some good stuff.
Certain candidates drew more attention here. Behind me, you can see a swarm around Senator Cory Booker. You can't feel the burn, let alone see him.
Trillions of dollars.
Biden was a no-show. His surrogates were in the glare instead.
What's the word I'm looking for? Hurdle to progress.
As Kamala Harris,
Senator Harris.
Stole the spotlight in the middle of a Category 5 Florida hurricane.
Oh, that's sick.
So good. That looks so good.
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect.
You might say the Sounders played awesome, that they had a lot of heart, but would you say you felt the earth move?
That's what we were looking for. I'm excited. I don't know about you. We're excited. As you can see, the stadium's going crazy.
While the rest of the fans hung on every pass and shot, A team from the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network looked to see if it was more than epic, if it was truly seismic.
Oh, look, they're doing some jumping. See if that's showing up.
They installed a seismograph at the stadium and one across the street.
We can look at how these waves propagate between these two stations. We can see how it travels throughout the building, and that, can be useful information for civil engineering as well.
The data started rolling in, but the best stuff came when the sounders showed their best stuff.
Rodriguez.
Oh! So as you can see, this is right when they scored. You can see all the frequencies are going crazy.
It's a fun way to prove just how crazy the Sounders fans are, but it can also help researchers understand this data better.
It also does tell us something about how to interpret seismographs. We know a lot about how earthquakes look, but there's other signals that show up on the seismograms, and some of them we don't know what they are.
They recorded all sorts of readings and said they'll compare it with the game video and put it all together.
It's an amazing game. What a great game. Good game for Seattle fans.
Good game for you guys too?
Absolutely. Great game to record data.
While they came here in the name of science, they had to admit they're Sounders fans too.
Quite successful in more ways than one.
Amy Marino, King 5 News.
So working in news, it's not uncommon to be called on a weekend just for extra help. Tons of stories happen all the time. A lot of times they'll get postponed and maybe one of those falls on a weekend. And that's what happened to me. I had this call on a Saturday. This teacher promised his students that if they accomplished the goal, he was going to jump out of an airplane. And so I go in on a Saturday. I'm going by myself to help out an anchor here. Basically, it follows his teacher. He is really wanting his students to try something different, step out of their comfort zone, and experience something new in life. And he promised them that if they raised the money to go on this trip, he would jump out of an airplane. And he's thinking yo, they ain't gonna make this, but we'll go on the trip. And lo and behold, they end up raising the money, and homeboy has to end up doing it. Well, I was blessed with probably one of the most real-life sitcom family I've ever met in my life. And when you're being able to do a story that already has a cool meaning behind it, but then you meet just out of this world fun people that all you can do is just laugh about because how fun of a family they are, it just makes everything I do and coming on a weekend completely worth it.
Jumping into a new experience means facing the new fears that come along with it.
This guy's still falling.
Why is that? Why?
There we go.
Especially when that's something new.
Wow.
Oh, I'm gonna be sick. Involves jumping out of an airplane.
Watching these guys come down, it's making it real.
Meet Jason Feld.
Life is an adventure.
And his wife, Rebecca.
I married a crazy, crazy man.
The pair are at Skydive Snohomish.
Such a beautiful day.
Enjoy it, sweetheart, because this is never, ever happening again. Ever.
Not by choice.
This is not even on his bucket list. No, not even once did he say, hey, I want to jump out of an airplane.
They are here because Jason is making good on his word.
Good education is about getting out of your comfort zone, trying some new things and experiencing life to the fullest. And I guess I'm practicing what I'm preaching.
Jason is the new head of school at Northwest YESHIVA High School in Mercer Island, and he wanted his senior class to have a new experience too.
Our senior class had to raise a good bit of money to go on a senior trip to Poland and Israel. And it was very important for me that they went.
So they started a fundraising drive, and he accidentally said, if you raise more than $10,000, I'll jump out of an airplane.
That goal was not only met, but exceeded. Every member of the senior class went on the Jewish Heritage trip, and that is why Jason is here.
Terrifying.
Terrifying, but that's the point.
That if we set our mind to do something, whether it's raise money to make sure everyone goes on a trip or makes good on a pledge to jump out of an airplane at 13,500 feet, then there's no barrier to making it happen.
Wait, can you show me exactly what they told you to do? Show me exactly.
Yeah.
No, right now, show
Smile
me. No.
and enjoy the
When
ride.
do you do this?
When you jump out of the plane.
And what about your neck?
Same. 'All right. We're good.
things like this, it's not him. But he is definitely a very devoted, dedicated educator. Really, really, this trip meant the world to him that it happened for these kids. He loves his students, yeah. He really does.
There.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Proving that sometimes it takes getting uncomfortable.
Why are you so close to me, Judy?
To discover new things about yourself
Jay!
Or your husband that you never knew were there.
The lesson here is you really have to live life not facing, facing your fears.
You're gonna do something else reckless
you gotta
like this?
go out of your comfort zone.
Okay, Jay.
Really, this was an incredible experience.
In Snohomish.
Okay. Now let's go.
Vanessa Mishanya, King 5 News.
That does it for us for now. I'm Jake Wittenberg, and we'll see you right back here on King 5 Mornings.